You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
And I approach him and say, hey, can you buy me and my friend some alcohol? And right off the bat, he's like, put your hand over your mouth. The cameras can see your mouth. I'm like, oh.
One of those characters was known as the Cat Lady. And if you know, you definitely know about the Cat Lady from the Bridgewater area.
I believe she took off her shirt, but I don't believe there was any sort of breastfeeding involved. I believe it was just sort of holding the babies against her skin.
You are listening to Canadian Gothic.
Miss Madelayne Klein, we're here for Encounters with Creeps, Volume 30, and it's the 1st of December, which means that time is flying by in more ways than one. Where did the time go?
Every time I look at the calendar, the date is news to me, and it's not slowing down.
No, and Encounters with Creeps Volume 30, can you believe we're this deep into this? We probably get 6 to 8 listener-contributed stories of creep encounters per episode. Whatever 6 to 8 times 30 is means that we have a whole lot of creeps that we've discussed on this show, on this series, and we've covered creeps all over the world here. So I think whatever we're doing here on Encounters with Creeps, it seems to be working.
Oh, that should be our New Year's resolution, is to get a creep map going. I should put like a world map behind me, and we'll pin everywhere where we received a creep story from.
Yeah, we could be like UFO investigators. We could have like a live creep tracker that people could like follow online when creep encounters pop up.
Oh, I like this. I like this a lot.
We could send like a team in of correspondents to try to track down more creep stories from the hotbed of creeps. We'd have a whole team down in Florida.
Can I be the leader of that team? I'm very nosy.
You should be. But let's get into it here. We have a lot to discuss. Before we do, though, for anyone who is tuning in at Volume 30 of Encounters with Creeps, do you want to introduce the series or should I?
You go ahead. I'm not prepared.
Many moons ago, I put a call out to listeners of the Canadian Gothic to share with us their stories of the times they've encountered a creepy person, be it a weird coworker, a first date gone wrong, a nutty neighbor, or just like a random freak at the bus stop kind of thing. And I thought it'd be a one-off thing, except instead of getting like 6 to 8 stories, I got probably 50. So we did an Encounters with Creeps episode, but we had so many we had to do part 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. And here we are now with Volume 30 of the listener-contributed Encounters with Creeps series. And the way we start the show is not with a listener-contributed story, but with what we call a contemporary creep. And this is a creep who is in the news here in Canada over the last week or two. Just like a shocking, creepy news story. And I'll tell you that for this volume, Volume 30, the contemporary creep we're going to hear about, we'll actually hear about 2 tonight. I'm going to bookend the episode. We'll start and end with one.
Nice.
Both of them are so shocking, but let's just start with the first one. I didn't run this by you before we started, so I don't know if you know this story. I'll simply call this the Winnipeg school incident, or the Winnipeg school creep. Winnipeg police say a child was grabbed by a stranger in a St. Vital elementary school bathroom Thursday, which led to charges of assault and forcible confinement against a 20-year-old man who is also a registered sex offender. Let's listen to a short news story and buckle up for this one.
St. Vital's Darwin School community is in shock after police say a 28-year-old convicted sex offender, Scott William George, went into the school Thursday and grabbed a child.
The suspect had hid in a washroom stall. This was a children's bathroom, by the way. When a student exited an adjacent stall that they were using, the man grabbed hold of the child.
According to police, the student fought him off and told a teacher.
Scott William George has been charged with the following offenses: assault, forcible confinement, and failed to comply with prohibition order regarding children ×2.
Court records show he pled guilty to sexual interference in 2022. His criminal history goes back to 2015, and he has several failure to comply with conditions charges, and others like unlawful dwelling in a home and weapons violations. The Louis Riel School Division Superintendent Christian Michalik says everyone in the division is shaken by the incident.
A situation that no child or family or staff should ever have to face.
Michalik says officers were able to respond within minutes. He says many of the school's doors are locked, but inevitably, doors are open for people finding their way in and out.
Police say the investigation continues and ask anyone with information to contact the Child Abuse Unit or Crime Stoppers.
Well, I was not prepared for that.
That is an absolute horror show. If he was charged with forcible confinement, would imply, like, did he maybe like get the kid in the stall? Like, it seems like the kid was using the bathroom. When the kid left the stall, he grabbed the kid and pulled them into the stall with him. Or maybe just by keeping them in the bathroom would be enough to get that. But either way, like, what an absolute horror show.
I'm shocked. That is shocking. And with his history, these people need to be castrated.
We'll get into his history. Let me tell you about this guy. His name is Scott George. He has a criminal record dating back to 2015. He's only 28 now, so his criminal record starts when he's about 18 years old. Court records state that he had been abusing solvents and meth since childhood, but listen to some of the criminal background. So it seems like he may have just gotten out of prison very recently for kind of a slew of disturbing crimes. In 2022, Scott George randomly approached a 6-year-old girl who was at a movie theater with her family. He groped her and fled. He was arrested 30 minutes later at a mall. When the police approached him, he could hardly talk, and he was like stinking of lacquer and hand sanitizer, which he had been like drinking or inhaling. When he went back to the police station, he showed little to no remorse as they interviewed him about what happened. At one point, he was allowed to go to the bathroom. When the police went to check on him in the bathroom, he was masturbating in the bathroom at the police station. He ended up pleading guilty to that. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, was added to the sex offender registry, and was prohibited from having contact with kids or entering child-centric spaces. But just earlier this year, he twice violated his court prohibitions surrounding being in places where kids would be. In February, he was found at a bathroom in a park, like a public park. But the worst one is 1 month later. In March, he was found wandering inside a high school. He was drinking a beer and sniffing a solvent, so like, I don't know, gas or whatever. Staff ended up noticing him and tracked him down. He got arrested for that. He was put back in jail for that. And it seems like he just got out of jail late October, early November. And now here he is in the news again. But all this to say, that's like a long rambling explanation of this guy's history. But needless to say, like, this guy should be off the streets. I think that's terrifying.
Ugh.
It's just, at what point do you just say, like, yeah, that can't be fixed? I think that point comes when they get out of prison and they go in an elementary school bathroom and start grabbing kids like it's like straight out of a horror movie.
Well, exactly.
I don't know if you can get better from that. There's definitely like addiction issues and stuff, but public safety, you need to give that some priority. This guy is a pure-blooded creep.
Absolutely. This is such an extreme case, and like, I understand, like, human rights are a thing, but this is when we need asylums where people can be told to go and not have to, like, check themselves in.
If his addiction issues and all these psychological problems are so bad that he can't stop himself from sneaking into an elementary school and hiding in the bathroom and grabbing like a little kid, and it's like, and this is the second time he's done something like this that he was caught for, because the thing at the movie theater, grabbing like a 6-year-old girl and groping her while she's with her family, you shouldn't go to prison for 2 years for that, in my mind. Much longer.
Oh. You scared me there for a second. I was like, what?
Much longer.
Well, and especially now, like, it's just unfortunate that this kid had to be traumatized, but hopefully he'll catch maybe they can make him a dangerous offender and put him in for an indeterminate amount of time.
That's something like that has to happen. And maybe this is what it takes to get it there. But luckily for that kid, they managed to escape, because it does sound like the kid had to physically like escape this guy in the bathroom. And that's just, for people who don't get the ages. Like in elementary school, you're talking like a 5 to a 10-year-old, like so like a little kid.
Yeah.
And when they're in the bathroom at school, like that should be such a, the trouble that they should get into in the bathroom is like running into the bad kid in class who is trying to get them to, flush weird stuff down the toilet. Not this like stranger who stinks of the gas he's huffing and the hand sanitizer he's drinking. Like that is a horror show. And I'm sure the school is going to have a bit of a wake up call on school safety.
Oh, for sure. There's going to be no one in and no one out for a long time.
Well, that is the contemporary creep that we are going to start the show with. Let's take our first break, and when we get back, we'll get into our first segment of listener-contributed stories. We have a trio of creeps at work. You'll see what I mean. Let's have a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get into it. Madelayne, I promised you a trilogy of creeps at work stories. Everyone from all walks of life encounter creeps during their life. Many of us encounter them while working. The trio of stories we're about to hear now will just be further evidence of that. Let's go to New Brunswick. We'll go to Fredericton. We have a listener named Carrie who wants to share some memories of working at a smoke shop in Fredericton.
Nice.
So I've had a few encounters in my lifetime, more than I'd like to have had, but in any case, the ones that stand out the most happened when I was just a teenager living in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and working in what was called basically a smoke shop, which was like a small convenience store within the mall that would sell smokes and chocolate bars and other junk food and slush puppies and magazines and a bunch of souvenir crap that nobody really needs. But the story is, both of these stories really pertain to magazines, as I'm sure you can see where this is going to lead. I was probably 16, 17 years old working there. And at the end of our shift at 10 o'clock at night when we were closing, before closing, we had to straighten up all the magazines. And so the magazines would be on a tiered rack, of course. And I was short, still am short. And so I would have to stand up on the bottom part of the magazine rack in order to reach the top of the magazine rack in order to straighten those magazines. And so I was wearing a very long dress, just a casual jumper type dress that would come down to probably halfway between my knees and my ankles. And I was standing up on the lower ledge to straighten the back of the magazines. Thought I was alone in the store because we would start doing this about 10 minutes before closing, so 10 to 10 at night. And all of a sudden I just had this weird feeling that I was being watched. And I kind of looked around and looked down, and there was this grown-ass man laying on the floor of the store looking up my dress. Looking back, I wish I had stepped on his face and told him to get the hell out, but I was like 16 and didn't really know how to react. But as soon as he knew that he was caught, he just got up and bolted, basically. So that was one creep encounter. Another one also involves the magazines, and basically a guy that was, enjoying the porn magazines a little too much in the store, to the point that I had to basically go over and tell him to buy it or leave. I was hoping he would just leave because I didn't really want to take any money from his hands. This was before the days of debit cards. So those are my encounters with creeps.
Those stories make me realize the plight of the convenience store worker that works in a shop that carries dirty magazines. You would encounter creeps. And are they even still a thing?
I don't think so. I was just like, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I miss the magazine days.
I loved magazines.
Yes, I miss going every month and getting the ones that I liked. But having to sell pornographic magazines to weirdos would suck.
Yeah, especially to be the sole employee, like you're alone, 20-something female working the night shift in a convenience store that sells dirty magazines. That's a bad place to be, I would think.
Well, she wasn't even an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm surprised that anyone could sell those. I mean, I guess they were available anywhere, but can you sell cigarettes if you're underage?
You must be able to, because they have underage people working in shops that would sell cigarettes. But that is a weird
Right.
loophole,
I've never
right?
thought of this before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never thought of
Interesting.
that.
Ugh.
People, there's probably someone out
Yeah.
there who knows
Super
better, but
gross.
regardless, the working in a shop that sells dirty magazines, I bet you a lot of people have had creep encounters related to working and being in that position. The guy looking up her dress, that was a really weird one, a bit more intense. I'm not surprised that there was some guy in the store looking at them and being really weird about that. But the guy looking up her dress was a whole different thing.
Excuse me, that's illegal.
But I guess it depends on how far the guy alone looking at the magazine was going. Like, was he just like
Right.
licking his lips saying, "Ooh, baby," or was there more to it?
I might date you here, but are you old enough to remember a video, like your video store having like an adults only section in the
Oh
back?
my God, absolutely. The
Oh, see,
adult section?
I don't remember this. I'm just far
Okay.
too young.
Okay, of course. Yeah, oh yeah, like when you go to rent movies or whatever, most video rental stores would have like a separate room that would either have a door to get
Or a
in.
beaded curtain.
Yeah, the one by my house, like in Cape Breton, where I'm from, in Sydney, the room had a beaded curtain that you'd have to like pull it open and walk in, and it was right next to the horror section. So I'd be in looking at horror movies, and every time like a creepy adult would go into the dirty movie section, when they would pull open the beaded curtain, of course my eyes would wander, and I would see the female form on all those little boxes.
I would love to put a call out for someone that has worked in such a store, and I'm sure they've got stories aplenty of the adults
Oh
only
yeah.
section.
Yeah, one little story I can share. This is from a weird era of history. I worked not in a video rental store, but a satellite television station or network or whatever. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember this, where the company was called Star Choice, and you would get a little satellite receiver on your house, and you could connect with all these different channels and get pay-per-views and stuff. But when you would call to order the pay-per-views, I was one of the people you would talk to order the pay-per-view. And so the pay-per-views were
oh,
often sports events or like concerts or movies that you could pay to order. But of course there was adult pay-per-views. There was a whole channel where people would call up and they would be like some of them would be like, I want to order the movie that's on channel 645 at 11 o'clock. And I would do it, but then some people would be like, I want to order, Babes from Buttland at 4. And that was when I was like 20 years old. I loved that job, by the way.
oh, that sounds fun. Absolutely. Oh,
I
wow.
I do have a memory of speaking to a wife. There was like a husband and wife who shared the account, of course. And I remember the wife called in because she got the paper bill we had sent out that just had like a list of dirty movies. And she was calling in like there must be a mistake here. And it
No
had to be
mistake.
me. So I was reading her the notes on the account. I was like, John called on Sunday and he ordered this one, and then he called an hour and a half later and got a second one.
In
Uh,
fact, he said you'd call. So
said something about his
his old lady.
yeah, she was out of town. All right, let's move
Moving
away
on.
from this talk of dirty stuff, and we'll move on to something that's also dirty, but in a whole different way. You'll like this because Madelayne, you're a bit of a cat lady, right?
I'm a big bit of a cat lady.
But you're not the cat lady that the Bridgewater, Nova Scotia cat lady is or was. We have a listener named Lucas who's letting us in on a bit of like an urban legend from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. There was a lady there referred to simply as the cat lady. She's kind of like, it kind of sounds
Goals.
like Bridgewater's version of the glove guy is the cat lady.
Nice.
Listen to Lucas's encounters with her.
Hey Jordan, I'm Lucas calling from sweet little Lunenburg County. This is going to be an Encounters with Creeps. I feel I have to give a little context to this one. This is in the Bridgewater area. There are a few characters in the town where were when I was a teenager growing up. One of those characters was known as the Cat Lady, and if you know, you definitely know about the Cat Lady from the Bridgewater area. She would walk around town and people would get her to meow at them. She loved meowing at people. She was, I would say, in her about late 50s, 60 years old. She would dance. She would do a cat dance. Sometimes she would even flash people. So she was definitely known. I'm not sure if it was drugs or some type of mental illness, but something was off for sure. When I got out of high school, my first job was working at the meat department in the superstore in Bridgewater. And she would often come in the store walking around, and she would walk back to the meat department and to say inappropriate things to all the people that were working in there. It was a crew of guys working back there, and she would say things like, "Oh, hey, sexy," or "Hey, handsome," or "Nice looking meat back there." And she'd give you a kind of a look, and it's one of those things where you're working in the store and you just kind of got to shake it off and smile and carry on with your day. And I never really felt threatened or anything by it, but it's just really inappropriate. And like back then, I don't know, it's by today's standards, she would probably be charged, but back then it was just the old cat lady. So thanks for what you do.
Wow.
Okay, so I am not a cat lady like that.
No, you don't meow at
No.
kids and flash them.
I don't. No, I don't meow or flash anyone. So
When he said the Lunenburg or the Bridgewater cat lady, I'm thinking it's just some like lady who has a bunch of cats. No, she
Yeah.
acts like a cat, and so she meows. And like, okay, I get that. But then the cat dance. I would love to see that, but I can't imagine it. Where does the flashing come in? Because how does that relate to cats? And then even more than that, why does she go and harass the young men working at the meat section? Like, there's a lot to this lady.
I honestly feel bad for her because there's obviously like something wrong. Like she's probably like touched or something.
Or is it just she's just a practical joker?
You know what? You could get me with the flashing for practical joking. You could get me with the slight sexual harassment of the meat department guys. But it's the meowing and the dancing that I'm like, there's something wrong with this girl. And people are using her for free entertainment.
Yeah,
It's sad. She's just a lost soul.
I would love to know where she's at now. I may put a call
Yeah.
out on social media for like, does anyone from Bridgewater have any stories to share about the Bridgewater cat lady?
Do you know anything about Bridgewater? Is this like, are you like, yeah, that sounds like Bridgewater?
Yeah, it's the kind of place that a cat lady would thrive.
Oh,
but every
okay.
small town has their like person.
Who was Kate Breton?
Well, we had a lot. I would rather celebrate the positive ones. We have Frankie McDonald, the weatherman.
Oh, yeah.
He's a Cape Breton like celebrity, like the kind of person you encounter where you're like, oh, there's Frankie. But he found fame as like a viral weatherman, so that's very cool.
Okay.
But we also have a lot of negative ones as well that I don't want to shine a light on today.
Okay.
Let's move on to another.
Not today.
Not today. We'll do a separate episode on that. A separate series called like Rigs of Cape Breton.
You know what? This could be very popular.
It would. But every small town has their little, like, well-known crazy person. Like we have, of course, in Halifax, we have the glove guy. In Bridgewater, they have the cat lady. Does Regina have one?
Yeah, we do. We have Dancing Bob.
Okay,
And
he just dances?
yeah, he dances everywhere. Like be it on a street corner or like he's at every live event, concerts. Like he's everywhere and he just like dances terribly, may I please add.
Okay.
When he jumps into our nasty man-made lake in the middle of the city, and it's just like you're just asking for leprosy jumping in there, and he jumps in there and he never wears a
catch
shirt.
leprosy.
But
Okay.
yeah, everyone knows who Dancing Bob is in Regina, and I'm like, ugh.
Ugh. Let's move on to something much classier than these stories of Dancing Bob jumping in the lake at Regina. Let's go to a bingo hall.
Hey, Jordan and Madelayne. My name is Jess, and I am contacting you as a Canadian that is living in Wisconsin. Yikes. I was just listening to the latest episode, and I had an encounter a long time ago, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Back when I was a kid and I had my first job, I worked at a bingo hall. And yes, I said bingo hall. And I don't know if anybody has experience with early 90s bingo halls. They're a lot different now, but it is quite the experience and lots of characters, all walks of life. But 1994, I was on the verge of turning 14 and I was working in the concession booth, serving coffee, pop, chips, you name it. And there was this one guy that would come in and his lady friend played bingo. And so he would basically wait for her to be done and he wouldn't play. But he was really gave me the heebie jeebies. And he would wear these white tank tops and jeans and just slick back hair. But he would always come when no one else was there. So I would be busy doing stuff like cleaning up because basically after the intermission, it would be pretty quiet. So nobody would really come up to the booth. And he would always come when there was nobody else there. And there was this one time and it really stuck with me. And like I say, I don't know what triggered this, but he came up and asked for a Diet Coke, I think, and I was getting it for him and he just kept on staring at me, which made me super cringy and uncomfortable, and said, you know, you have the most beautiful eyes. And he followed it by saying, I just wish I could cut them out and keep them. Oh, anyways, I just saying that out loud. I've been holding on to that for, 30 years. But anyways, that's my creep encounter. I think it deems to be creepy.
I'm glad we could help Jess get that off her chest. She's been holding that one in for 30 years. Good God. Yeah, that's a creep encounter. I don't know if it came out of his mouth the way he thought it was going to.
Is there a good way that would be taken?
Definitely, like, you're giving serial killer vibes way stronger than you're giving compliment vibes.
Yes. Is that a threat? What's happening here?
Yeah,
This is
what the
weird.
hell? And when she was describing his outfit, to me, he sounded kind of like an Elvis impersonator or something. Like he had his hair all slicked back, dressed up like in his like coolest clothes at the bingo hall, and when his old
In
lady
his
was
jeans
sitting
and
down.
wife beater.
Yeah. Well, did you know that that's a controversial term? Let's talk about that. You know, a white tank top. I've always referred to it as that cut of tank top. I always called it a wife beater, and that's what I've known it as. There's now controversy surrounding that.
Okay, I can see that. But I think it's just because wife beaters used to wear them, and then they just kind of coined the term.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting that I saw a news article where some store was in trouble for labeling them that way, and I
Okay,
get
that's
that
dumb.
because it's a colloquial term to call them that, and I wonder if it's all around the world. But I'm sure in Nova Scotia, if you're wearing a white tank top, 7 out of 10 people that are under 50 years old will refer to it as a wife beater.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I call them.
Okay. So, and you're across the country from me, so
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Anyway, Jess at the bingo hall, I can relate somewhat to her experiences. My first job too was working at a concession stand at a bingo hall.
really?
I would do the coffee and all that like she did, but I also sold the bingo cards as well. Like when people came in, they'd buy the bingo cards. But my creep encounters that I had there were more like ladies who stunk of cigarettes or were actively smoking, calling me like hun and sweetheart.
See, that's not
I think
creepy. Those
no.
are like, I think if an elderly Cape Breton woman called me hun, I like it would heal my soul.
Okay.
Yeah, with smoking. Yeah, no, that would I would sit down with her and have a cigarette and a coffee with her.
Yeah, at the bingo hall.
At the bingo hall.
Yeah, just while they're calling a few numbers. I've never had someone there tell me they wanted to cut my eyes out.
Lucky man. Lucky man.
Seriously. That is a privilege just for Jess, I guess. I'm glad she got out of there. Yeah, I wonder what she did. I guess she probably just stared at him with her mouth open, like, what?
What else do you do other than stand there with your mouth agape?
You pour a coffee and throw it in his face and start screaming,
say,
I guess.
Get the hell away from me.
Yeah, like go back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like wacko at the bingo hall of all places.
I just wish that I mean, as a society and, people that are calling in with these creep encounters, I wish we had all the intelligence we have now back when these encounters happened. Because, when I was 14, I wouldn't have known what to do either. But had that happened to me now, I would have been like, that's very weird of you to say, and you're making me uncomfortable.
Some of these incidents, these creep encounters, it takes years to figure out what you should have said.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if Jess could redo that, her response would be well thought out and deliberate and probably pretty intense towards the guy who wants to bring her eyes home.
Excuse me, I have to call 911. Cops should be here shortly, you psycho.
So he says you have such, pretty eyes or beautiful eyes or whatever. That's weird to say to some, like a kid you don't know, of course. But then to say, like, I would want to bring them home with me, like, that's weird because if you think about it, like, what are you going to do? Do you want to have my eyes, like, on your table or something? But then to add, I want to cut them out and bring them home with me. Then it's weird and violent. It's layers to it, okay?
I'll guarantee you this guy has killed something. I don't know if it's a human or cat or whatever. But that guy, I imagine he's dead now.
Yeah, when his estate was when his kids were cleaning out his apartment, they just kept finding eyes.
Yeah, in
of animals.
Formalin. Yeah.
But he is the kind of guy who would go do something nuts at a store that sells dirty magazines in the 80s as well.
And I just know he was chain smoking through all this.
Oh, for sure, with his grease back hair at the bingo hall. Let's take our final break. When we get back, I have something shocking for you. When we get back, we're gonna have
more.
Yes, we have. Our next segment isn't going to be creeps at work. It's just going to be simply random creeps, which are just you encountering a creep when you're out living your life. But we're going to start it with our second and final contemporary creep of the night, because it wasn't only the wacko at that Winnipeg school that was in the news. There was another story in the news in Canada last week that is so creepy and so shocking. I've never heard anything like it, and I can't wait to hear your take on what happened at a hospital in Surrey, BC. Madelayne, I promised you some random creeps, but I also promised you a contemporary creep that is among the most disturbing things I think I've ever heard in the news that is safe to air on this show. I want to tell you the story of what we'll call the Surrey, BC baby toucher. I'm just going to play the news clip and then we'll talk about this.
Oh, I already don't like this.
If you know this woman, contact Surrey Police. She's being called an assault suspect after allegedly entering Surrey Memorial's neonatal intensive care unit, taking off her shirt, and making contact with 3 newborns. The incident happened 1 month ago, on October 28th. The woman gained access to the unit around 6:55 a.m. It's unclear how long she was there.
I believe she took off her shirt, but I don't believe there was any sort of breastfeeding involved. I believe it was just sort of holding the babies against her skin. There's no indication, from my understanding, that she was trying to leave the hospital with one of the infants. She was confronted by staff, and they're the ones who notified security.
Surrey Memorial is apologizing for the breach and say this is so unheard of, they call it a never incident. Typically, screening involves parents needing hospital identification wristbands in order to enter the neonatal intensive care unit. The suspect is described as 30 to 40 years old, about 5'2", with a heavy build. Police say other hospitals were notified of the breach soon after it happened.
And one quick update here is and I don't get the timeline of this, but this news clip came out like yesterday saying this happened at the end of October, shortly after the suspect was taken into custody, but police have said nothing about it. They haven't given any information on who she is, her age, her history. But that article that was going around does have her photo, and she just looks kind of like a regular lady. It's just this kind of lady with like a hoodie on. But you
Yeah.
tell me about this. You work in a hospital setting. You had a baby. What is the NICU, and why is that such a sacred place for babies to not be approached and touched by weirdos?
Well, the NICU is like the neonatal intensive care unit.
So this is for babies that are going through something.
Yeah, like nurseries, like they do still have a nursery, but all the babies don't go into the nursery anymore. They stay with mom in her room, which is great. Then you like can't have a baby switched or whatever. The only reason a baby would ever go into the nursery is if mom had to be put out and she was like recovering.
Mhm.
But like a neonatal, like that's like a high what word am I looking for? That's like a high security prison.
Yeah, it
Like
would be right because
how she
and
got in there is baffling.
yeah, and these babies, unless I'm mistaken, the neonatal intensive care unit would be babies that are having, health problems or there's something that's a big issue. So that and would they not be like all in incubators and stuff?
I think the majority of them would be. I've never thankfully been inside of the neonatal unit. Um, but like I know people that unfortunately have had to use it, and it's not a normal hospital ward.
Mm-mm.
Like you can't just have visitors. You have mom and dad, and then you get two more people who can come in and out. And they have, yeah, like identification and blah blah blah. Like it's not a free for all. You don't just get to go in and out, especially because babies, and especially the neonatal babies, like they have no immune system. Random strangers shouldn't be pawing at these kids. And they're so fragile. They're like 2, 3
Oh yeah, because
pounds,
if,
a lot
if
of
you had a
them.
baby that was extremely premature, they would go right to the neonatal intensive care unit, be in an
Absolutely.
incubator. And just like you said, like if a doctor or a nurse came to touch them, they would have like their hospital gear so there's not germs being spread. This seems to be a woman who walked in off the streets at like 6 in the morning ish is when this happened. She somehow got into the hospital, got into this unit, took her shirt off, and did skin to skin contact, which I did a bit of reading online, which just seems to be kind of like holding the naked baby against your flesh. So there's like warmth and all that
Mhm.
stuff, which is, I'm sure, comforting for a baby.
It's like a regulation thing, and yeah, skin to skin is great, but like not some random woman off the
Yeah,
street.
I wonder what's going to happen here. But much like how we opened the show with someone sneaking into an elementary school, these are people sneaking into sacred, protected places, and these are going to be big wake up calls. Like whatever lapse in security allowed this person to get here and do this to three babies before they were spotted and confronted. That cannot happen.
Well,
Like
and
that's horrifying.
we're lucky she just wanted to do skin to skin.
Yeah,
And it wasn't anything worse, like taking them or dropping them or whatever.
there's so much
Ugh.
horrible things that could have come out of this, and yeah, like dropping them, taking them, that's one, or just who knows what medical problems this person has as well that they could have brought into there. It it is just, and they can't be in their right mind, so there must be some other things at play here. But much like the guy who snuck in the bathroom in that elementary school, something needs to happen to make sure that this lady can never do anything like this again. And something has to change at the hospital so something like this could never happen again, period.
Well, I imagine this is just an anomaly because I
Yeah.
don't have to go to that hospital in Surrey to know that like they've got security measures in place. Even just the
Mhm.
regular mother baby unit, like you can't visit without like being on someone's list or knowing someone, having a
Mhm.
room number, blah blah blah. Like that's just unheard of. I wonder if it was shift change
Yeah.
or she was
It's
in scrubs for whatever reason. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like the photo that was going around, like when they were trying to identify her, it seemed to be taken like from the hospital, like security camera.
Okay.
And she just got a big old hoodie. Like she looks like she should be roaming around at the mall or something. Like just like she's not looking like a nurse. But where it happened at, 6 in the morning, they would have probably been on like a skeleton crew. There'd be
Yeah.
less people, less security. And again, it's so shocking and unexpected that security's probably not thinking about this happening.
No. They
So
no one could have imagined that someone would do something like that.
I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's move on to our two final listener contributed encounters with creeps, both involving random creeps. Let's hear from a listener named Erica. And I'll just say this is the story of somebody making it way too easy for a creep and somehow it working out for her. This is another story that I'm just shocked didn't end worse. Here's the foolish thing Erica did when she was young.
So I was 16, maybe 15. And of course, what other 15-year-olds were looking for someone to buy us alcohol?
Duh.
So I was nominated out of my friend group to approach people outside the liquor store and ask. So I did. And I had a list. So anyways, I approached this
had a
man. He's
list.
tall, white guy, maybe in his 50s. And I approach him and say, hey, can you buy me and my friend some alcohol? And right off the bat, he's like, put your hand over your mouth. The cameras can see your mouth. I was like, oh, okay. So I just put my hand over my mouth and I'm telling him, what I want. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And then he tells me to get in the back of his car. Any other person would say red flag, but for some reason I said, you know what? Okay, I'll get in there because he didn't want it to be obvious. And I was like, I get it. I got you. So I'm sitting in the back seat. There's a bunch of like paint cans and like big roller paint things. I don't even know. But anyways, I'm in the back there. My friends are all staring at me like, what the fuck? I don't even think there were cell phones back then. Or maybe there was. They first came out, but we were all too poor to have one. So anyways, this guy gets in the car. I must have been scared. I barely remember, honestly. And he pulls around to the back of the liquor store and gives me the liquor and I leave. And that was that.
Did you ever have this experience of like asking, like hanging around outside, approaching people, asking them to buy you liquor or cigarettes?
Never. I always had older friends who just did it.
Oh, okay. What she's describing, my friends and I did that sort of thing successfully, but I wouldn't have gotten in someone's car, and I definitely didn't encounter the guy who was like the pro at it, like put your hand over your mouth, the cameras can see. Before we've trained for this, cover your mouth, get in the car.
And you know what? I gotta give credit where credit is due. She was determined. She was determined to get that booze for her and her friends.
Yeah, with her. Yeah, and when she said I had a list, I can guarantee that list was like 1/2 pint of blah blah blah.
Bacardi
6
Breezers.
cans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the most shocking part of that whole story isn't that it happened, but just that it worked out so well.
Yeah.
He got it, drove her around the back of the store. She hopped out.
And he was like, yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, the liquor store could review the tapes. There'd be no evidence of this having happened. They had their mouths covered. Like it was the perfect crime.
I like that one.
Well, here's one you won't like. This will be our final creep encounter of the night. This one is it's gonna call back to a reoccurring thread through the 30 volumes of Encounter with Creep series, and that is creepy people who have a foot fetish that can't help but express that fetish to random strangers. We'll call this story Laura's Friendly Stranger.
This is Laura, your correspondent from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with a creep encounter story that includes bootleg DVDs and foot massages. This was in 2019. I was working in a small office at the time. Oftentimes at this job, I would need to walk a couple of blocks to the post office, or I'd walk to go pick up my lunch from a nearby restaurant. On one of my walks to the post office, I was stopped by this guy, maybe in his late 20s or early 30s. I forget exactly what he said, but it was probably just like, you know, some passing thing that you say to a stranger, like about the weather or something. He seemed maybe like he was unhoused or maybe like a bit developmentally disabled or something. So I tried to be friendly and just like engage him a little bit. He told me that he was selling DVDs and asked if I wanted to buy some. He pulls out random bootleg DVDs from a grocery bag to show me. And I try to be friendly and just say like, "Oh, no, that's okay. I don't think I need any right now." Trying to like politely end the conversation. And at the time I was wearing sandals and I noticed he kept looking down at my feet like the whole time we were talking. He told me he liked my shoes and I think maybe he even asked me like what size my shoes were. At this point like I feel a little bit bad for him cuz like obviously he has something going on and you know, but then he starts getting creepy. He starts telling me he has a massage business and he has people come over to his house all the time and he gives the best foot massages and they're only like $10. Meanwhile, he keeps looking at my feet, telling me he likes my sandals and that it looks like I could maybe use a foot massage. And I think he even asked me to like take my sandal off so he could see, like assessing my need for a foot massage or something. Like he was trying to convince me that I needed a foot massage from him. So at this point I'm like really uncomfortable and like I like just politely decline so I can just get the hell away from him. Um I remember his name because he told me his name. And so I go onto his Facebook just to do like some stalking. And his Facebook is absolutely filled with pictures of feet. And like all of his friends on Facebook are just profile pictures with feet. I swear to God. And after this, I see him like a couple more times and he keeps trying to talk to me and keeps looking down at my feet and he keeps trying to like tell me about like his massage business. So like each time I see him, I progressively get more and more uncomfortable and short with him. And I'm trying like not to engage at all. I'm like, stop looking at my fucking feet. Like, anyway, the last time I saw him, I was waiting in line for my sandwich at the deli that was next to my office. And he comes in and he looks at me and I freak out and I run out of the deli before I was able to pay for my food. Yeah, and after that, I drove everywhere and I never saw him again.
Wow.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the part where she described his Facebook page because I picture him just, it's like pictures he found online of feet that he's posting in his feed, but also like all his friends are like these like kind of like fake accounts of just like foot models or something. Like it just seems like such a weird hell she stumbled upon.
Yes. Oh, what a great description. A weird hell. And he kept showing up. It's not like she never saw him again. She had to deal with him a couple more times, poor gal.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the Bridgewater cat lady. This is just a guy around town who was just doing strange stuff, like with his bag of bootleg DVDs. What a strange business.
His bag of bootleg DVDs. So I have a few issues.
Okay.
The first one, and I think this is the most important one. No, I won't say that. But the first one is he's trying to charge people for a foot massage. No, you give me $10.
Yeah, sir.
And I'll let you massage my
I
feet.
know who's going to enjoy this foot massage, and I'm not paying you $10.
And also, I have recently found out that we talk a lot on Creeps about kinks and how we're not kink shaming, we're kink asking why. And I've recently found out that a kink is only a kink if all parties involved are enthusiastically consenting. So, if the random girl that you're pestering on the street because she's in flip-flops is whatever part of your kink, that's great. But she's not enthusiastically consenting. So this is now crossing a line.
Yeah, to predatory. It's like she maybe thinks she's just getting a great deal on a foot massage from like a, You know,
And bootleg
an,
DVDs.
an orthopedic surgeon she met, an orthopedic surgeon she met while he was selling his bootleg DVDs. And I like the way she described it was almost like he was trying to assess her for her need for a foot massage. Like, yeah, they look sore. You know, you got to come back to my apartment. You got $10?
Yeah, and then has the audacity to try and charge his victims.
Yeah, this guy. But I get a part of the way she said it is he just seemed like he had something going on. He seemed like harmless enough, and I could see why she'd be nice to him and kind of be like, okay, like, see ya. But when she continuously runs into him, I could see that getting old really fast. And it seemed like it hit its head, or the host of cards came crashing down one day when she saw him in the deli, and she's like, no, not today. I'm done with the weird foot guy.
Something told her to go running and screaming out of the deli without her food.
Mm-hmm. And if you get that feeling, I should run out of this deli screaming without my food, you should act on that. That's your gut instinct. It will never fail you when it's saying run out of the deli.
No sandwich is worth it. Like, I've had some delicious sandwiches, but if you get that feeling, you run.
We had a whole lot of creep encounters. We won't choose our favorite contemporary creep. I'm just going to, again, recap the listener contributed creeps, and you let me know which one you're going to take home with you. Is it going to be Carrie's memories working in a Fredericton smoke shop, the Bridgewater cat lady as told by Lucas, the bingo hall creep that Jess encountered? Will it be Erica's attempts to buy alcohol, or Laura's friendly stranger with a foot fetish and a business selling bootleg DVDs?
Well, this one's really hard because what a great group of creeps we had tonight. There are certain aspects I really like from a bunch of them. It's hard for me to choose between the liquor car and then the foot guy. When she was describing his Facebook, and all of his friends are people with feet for their profile picture.
It's like, she must have just like, what the hell did I stumble upon? For me, it has to be the cat lady of Bridgewater, both because I love the urban legend aspect of it, but I also can't help thinking about what her little cat dance must have been like. And I also wonder about the flashing. How did I am a lady who is a cat lady, how does that also turn into, and I'm flashing people? Like, how did that fit into the role play of being a cat?
I'll guarantee you some jackass just asked her to one day and she was like, sure. And then it just kind of
you're
stuck.
Dancing like a cat and meowing. Let's see where this goes. Then it just became part of it. But yeah, this was a good one. This was a great way to ring in the 30th volume of Creep Stories. But we have many more that we're going to do. So let this be the formal call out. If you listening in your headphones or in your car speakers or on your Bluetooth thing at home while you're cleaning have a creep encounter, we want to hear about it. Go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Use the voice recorder and share your creep encounter with us. And we'll give you a good deal on it. If your creep encounter is aired, you qualify for a Canadian Gothic swag pack. You can give me your mailing address, and you can do that at that same spot, thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Give me your mailing address, and Madelayne and I will send you a Canadian Gothic swag pack that includes whatever I have in my merch drawer. Things like stickers, keychains, who knows what we'll have.
Why don't you sweeten the deal and offer a foot rub?
Oh, for 10. Well, that's $10.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's not free. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of The Canadian Gothic. Now, before I wrap things up here, I want to give a huge and sincere thank you to everyone who took their time to share their creep encounters with us. As always, these stories serve as a great reminder to keep our eyes open and our wits about us. And to any other listeners out there who have a story to tell, we're going to be doing many more entries in this series, and we'd love to feature your creep encounter. You can share it with us at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. So if you got a story to share, go to the site now. The voice recorder is easy to use, and don't worry if you make any mistakes or misspeak. I'll edit and make sure we all sound our best before anything goes to air. We're excited to hear your story. Now, with that said, I'm going to start wrapping up this episode, but before I do, I have some final thanks to pass out. First of all, a big thanks to Madelayne Klein for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of the Canadian Gothic. I'd like to thank Monty Datta, who contributes the music for this show, and Linz from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to the Canadian Gothic. Without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. And on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Emma, the very generous Francine, and the very generous Tara. We appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can do it in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium right now at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support this show by sharing this episode on social media and telling all your like-minded friends to listen. Your support is very much appreciated. And until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you had a creep encounter.
Thank you for listening to Canadian Gothic.